After 1 year of negotiations and wrangling, Prashant Kishor has dumped the Congress. Beating the poll strategist to the announcement, Congress leaders tweeted about how PK has declined the offer to join the party. They put the onus on him. Minutes later, PK too confirmed what the Congress was saying. But he did say that the Congress doesn't need me. It needs a complete transformational overhaul to fix deep-rooted structural problems. In simpler words, it's like putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. That is what the Congress is attempting now. PK says that won't do. You may have to amputate. So what really was the deal breaker? Times now gets to the inside track of what soured the deal for Prashant Kishor. The first deal breaker. PK wanted to head the Empowered Committee 2024. So, viewers, an arrangement was offered by the Congress party that they'll set up an Empowered Committee to go over the reforms. PK said, I want to be in charge of them. If I'm just a member, then I may not have the authority to push through what I really want. I'll be outvoted. Sonia, however, agreed to make PK a committee member only. But as a member, he can't report directly to the leadership. The second deal breaker. Sonia, Priyanka were keen on PK joining the party, not Rahul Gandhi. Sonia was also miffed with PK's IPAC, which is his company, cutting a deal with the TRS. PK sought no Gandhi president, but party didn't agree. He said no Gandhi should be the president of the Congress. And perhaps had he been the chairman of the committee, he might have actually driven that particular reform, piloted it himself, which clearly, viewers, was not acceptable. Obviously, viewers, political parties, especially the BJP, are beginning to question whether the Congress party wants to rid itself of the Gandhis and become more democratic. Now, there were many suggestions that PK gave for Congress's revival. This itself may explain why the party and Parivar may have resisted his becoming chief of the committee, of the empowered group. He said, fix the leadership issue. He went on to say that Sonia should be a chief, but a non-Gandhi, the working president. He said Sonia can be UPA head, but a non-Gandhi Congress president should be appointed. He said reclaim the party's founding tenets, reconstitute organizational bodies via polls. Now, many satraps, many others within the Congress party have established a monopoly over different parts of the Congress party, and they would be loath to give up their positions. He says fix tenures for all posts. You can't just have people serving in one post for years altogether. One family, one ticket to counter nepotism. Solve alliance conundrums. Build army of grassroots leaders. Create an ecosystem of supportive media. All of this was, of course, made public. So why is the Congress so resistant to change in leadership? Remember, generations of Darbaris have worn their sycophancy as a badge of loyalty. Sample some of this, viewers. Rahul Gandhi, Congress MP, 11 September 2017, said most Indian parties follow dynasticism, legitimizing his own family's hold over the party. His mother, 20th November 2016, said someone in the family will follow father's footsteps. Salman Khurshid on Rajiv and Rahul in 2021 said once and future king of democracy. Shashi Tharoor, Congress MP, 19 March 2017, said society characterized by talent transmission through gene pool. It goes on and on, viewers. It goes on and on. It's quite clear that the Congress itself, from top to bottom, chose the Parivar, not PK. Why? Let's open this up. For all their pretensions of being democratic, this is clearly not the case. Sanjay Jha, the Congress party constantly accuses the BJP of being a dictatorship run by 2.5 people at one time. But your political party has rejected any attempt at reform that PK could have brought, Prashant Kishor could have brought, by actually not entertaining any of his demands. What does that say about the Congress?
Well, Rahul, I think the biggest message that the Congress party is sending out to its numerous supporters, with a 20% vote share and 12 crore voters, you're not completely out of the political mainstream. And the message we are sending out is that everything is hunky-dory. The Congress party doesn't need to change. We have been devastated in 2 general Lok Sabha elections. We continue
I'm
to be
asking a basic question tonight. Sanjay Jha, we know the message. The message is pretty obvious. We don't need someone who is a leader of the G23 to tell us what we already know. I want to ask you a very specific and political question. Has the Congress party lost all moral authority to preach on open systems and democracy after this? Simple question. Sanjay Jha.
Well, the truth is that, based on my personal experience, and I'll be very honest with you, Rahul, the Congress party has suffered because it doesn't encourage a very free internal exchange of ideas. And, if just a few people have access to the senior political leadership, that's not called democracy. You'll meet many people from the Congress who will tell you that Sanjay Jha is talking balderdash, he's talking utter crap, because when we want to speak to Rahul, we can. The truth is, and I'll give you my own personal example, which I wrote about in my book, that I made a very long, lengthy, complex PPT presentation for Rahul way back in 2018. I stayed in Delhi for 3 days. I never got a chance to meet him, although he was aware, because his office was aware that I had come to meet him.
So you're saying Rahul Gandhi is a hypocrite?
Breakdown.
When he keeps talking about democracy and all of that, he's just a hypocrite. That's what you're saying, Sanjay Jha.
Well, Rahul, let me call a spade a spade.
Good.
I think Rahul Gandhi, whatever his intentions might be, etc., that doesn't matter. I believe in politics is about the results you bring to the table. I think Rahul has really become, over the last couple of years, a political liability of sorts. Because if you can't win public trust and you can't inspire your cadres...
He's a political liability.
Yeah.
Call him a hypocrite. You say call a spade, fine. Let me bring in Dr. Suman Siraman. The Congress is hypocritical. It should not delude itself into speaking for democracy or criticizing others, especially the Modi administration for not being democratic, when it doesn't preach what it wants others to practice.
Rahul, I wouldn't...
it doesn't practice what it wants others to stand for.
No, Rahul, I wouldn't go down that path. What I would say is that the Congress party has again managed to spectacularly shoot itself in the foot with what has happened with Prashant Kishor. Especially the same issue went on 8 months ago. Again, they allowed it to play out in the full public glare. Why would you, already having once been burnt, do the same thing all over again? Would you not, at the very least, tell Prashant Kishor this time the discussions and the meetings should be, absolutely private? And it's incredible to see that they did not even do that. Allowed this 600 slides are going to be presented. Empowered Action Group is going to meet.
No, but Sumansi Raman, Dr. Raman, it's probably because you are not committed to democracy as a party. That's why someone who pushes you. Now look at these.
Rahul, let me tell you. No, 1 minute.
But why? Why are you? Why don't you want me to go down that path, as you're saying?
The reason is, the difference is, the Congress party continues to be more democratic than it actually perhaps could be for its own good, simply because the others in the party can't agree on an alternative. If they could all come together and agree on an alternative, they would have
Hold an election.
some time back.
Hold a free and fair election and you will have agreement.
You will not have agreement. You will
Why?
have people walking away from the party.
No,
You will
Dr.
have
Sumansi
people-
Raman, this
you
is
will
what, no,
have-
hang on. What is
The Gandhi
undemocratic?
family
One second.
is
What is
not-
undemocratic about any? No, one second. Prashant Kishor wants the Congress to become more democratic. He says you have a problem. What were his suggestions to fix the problem? UPA,
None of
Sonia...
them are rocket science.
Allow me, sir. Allow me. What did he say? Non-Gandhi should be a Congress president, reclaim the party's founding tenets, reconstitute organizational bodies via elections. This is the essence of a democracy. If you tell him we can't do business with you, what does it mean?
Look, these are very nice sounding phrases. The point is, Prashant Kishor did give one very valid suggestion: have a working president who is a non-Gandhi, while Mrs. Gandhi continues.
He says
to be
give
the
one
overall
family
in charge.
one ticket to counter nepotism.
You can't
That
do
is
that.
democratic.
You can't. Rahul, which party does that? You tell me one party.
Who cares
will be
about which
aware of
party? He
Why
is
even
saying
the
that that
BJP
is your
has
salvation.
enough dynasty.
No, why was the Congress, if Prashant Kishor doesn't know what he's talking about, why was the Congress talking to him in the first place? Why did they want him to make a presentation if they thought that he was a fool?
Look, what Prashant Kishor said makes enormous sense, Rahul. The problem is the Congress party today does not seem to be in a position to accept that, and that is not...
Accept that because it has a mental block about democracy. It is not democratic fundamentally. That is what Guru Prakash will say of the BJP. One second, I'll bring him in. But Kuntal Krishna, who is a Congress supporter, I want to ask you, Kuntal Krishna, isn't it a fact that the Congress party is anathema, that democracy is anathema to the Congress party? If it wasn't, they would have embraced Prashant Kishor and said, yes, come fix us. We need to be fixed. We need to be able to stand on our 2 feet and take on the BJP.
Rahul, let me make something very, very clear to you. Congress is the most democratic party we can see in India. Right now, for last so many years, we are even having internal elections into our student and youth Congress, youth wings also. Second thing, whatever Prashant Kishor said, no one denounced it. Congress heard it patiently and made an offer to Prashant Kishor. So, where is the point that whatever Prashant Kishor said was rejected? Prashant Kishor presented something, whole of the Congress leadership heard him, and now they gave him an offer. They asked him to come to a platform which is going to be the strongest body to make any decision for the further course of action. So where is the point that Congress rejected Prashant Kishor?
Okay, one second. Kuntal Krishna says, it's the most democratic party. Sanjay Jha, why are you suspended? Could you answer, Kuntal Krishna?
Well, let me tell you, with due respects to my friend Kuntal, that is not true. Holding elections in some bodies here and there doesn't make the party democratic. And the point that Kuntal forgot, that the Congress gave an offer to Prashant that he rejected. The purpose of the entire engagement was to let Prashant work with the Congress. So if I give you an offer that you are bound to refuse, well, that to me is political chicanery. And I think at the ultimate bottom line, it's a Congress who needed PK. PK does not need the Congress as much as the Congress needed him. And Rahul, let's put it on record here. The number of people who are leaving the Congress today, if it does not keep the leadership awake in the night, what will? You're losing elections, you're losing talent. Aam Aadmi Party has begun to replace you in different states of India, including Assam, for God's sake. You are not willing to now even win states that are swing states.
Let me ask.
After BJP has been in power. I mean,
Kuntal Krishna,
collapse of internal democracy.
can you stand for the presidentship?
Yeah.
Kuntal Krishna, can you stand for the presidentship of the Congress party?
Yes, Rahul.
Right.
Congress is the only party.
When was
where
the last
even a
election
single
held?
Simple worker can stand.
When
for
was the
Congress-
last
Congress
election held for the presidentship of the
Rahul,
Congress party?
Let me.
I'm asking you, Krishna Sahab, आपने बोला it's the most
Rahul, let
open
me correct
democratic
my
party.
friend.
When was the
Rahul,
last election
Rahul,
held? Let me ask you,
Rahul,
Kuntal Krishna, see, don't
Rahul,
talk, don't be
Rahul,
rhetorical, speak specifically. I'm asking you a specific question.
Rahul,
You said you can become president of the
Rahul,
party.
let
When
me
was the last
complete.
election held?
Rahul, let me
When is the next election going to be held? No, you answer the
Rahul,
question.
Let me complete.
No, you answer
Rahul,
the question.
Let me complete.
Don't
first.
buy time.
Yeah,
I have
I'm
limited
asking you, let
time.
me
My
complete
viewers have
first.
limited time on the
Let me
debate.
complete first.
You tell me, when is the next
Congress-
election in the Congress party?
Rahul, that's what I'm saying. Rahul,
When is
let
it?
me complete.
Yeah, when is it?
Prashant Kishor did not.
When is the next
reject
election
any
for
offer.
presidentship?
He refused that offer. He
When
refused that
is,
offer.
I
He
don't
got
care about
rejected.
Prashant Kishor, sir, whether he refused, whether he
September.
accepted. I'm only asking you, when will be the next election? Can you tell me the date for the presidentship of the party? Give me the date.
Before-
The last election was held 20 years ago.
Yes,
More
Rahul.
than 22 years
Yes,
ago.
Rahul. Membership is going on.
Membership is going on.
Rahul.
20 साल से
No.
चल रही है membership
No,
इनकी.
organization
Guru Prakash,
membership is
respond.
going on.
It's the most democratic party. It has a
No,
birthright over democracy in this country.
Congress is going
Guru
to
Prakash,
have-
respond.
Congress is going to have an election.
Yeah, I can see that, sir. It might be after the general elections.
Kuntal ji, Rahul.
Yeah.
Rahul, since 1980s, in the last 42 years, there has been only two non-Gandhi Congress president, P.V. Narasimha Rao and Sitaram Kesri, and we still remember how unceremoniously they were removed. We don't need to remember that history. Since 1980, in the last 42 years, only two non-Gandhi Congress president. And what I find more laughable is that when we are having this discussion, both Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, they are abroad to an unknown destination. They are not even at the backdrop. उनको पता ही नहीं कि डिस्कशन हो रहा है. Leaders like Himanta Biswa Sharma, Jyotiraditya Sindhe, RPN Singh, Jitin Prasada, Priyanka Chaturvedi. Why are they leaving the Congress party? There is no semblance of internal democracy or collective decision making in the Congress party. They are still neck deep in corruption. See what is happening in Rajasthan. See what is happening in Jharkhand. They are not willing to do any introspection. They are not willing to turn the searchlight inwards.
Respond.
You see, there is no space of dissent.
Dr.
in the
Raman
Congress
wants to
party
respond to
or
you.
the
Dr. Raman
organization
wants to
hierarchy.
respond to the BJP
No, one
spokesperson.
second, Guru Prakash sir. I think at the end of the day, a couple of election wins changes a lot of things. Unfortunately for the Congress, they haven't been able to put together a series of election wins, and they also, whatever little they won Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, and they lost Madhya Pradesh soon after. The point is, the Congress party has a huge problem in the set of people who are quote unquote closest to the Congress president and the Gandhi family. Many of them belong to the 80s and 90s. They are, and most of them today are people who cannot win a municipal election. And they are the people who are taking decisions on behalf of the
Dr.
party.
Raman, you know so much.
Primarily.
They should have hired you, not PK.
No.
You would have even accepted the post in the EUM. Now, 1 minute. I just want to ask you, Dr. Raman, it's a very simple question. You began by saying,
whether it's right or wrong.
you began by saying, and I want to ask you this question. Can the Congress party, on the evidence of what you have seen, its resistance to democracy, especially internal party democracy, can it today stand for democracy? That's my basic question.
The Congress, in fact, has in the past been accused of too much democracy at one level. But the problem is, if the other Congress leaders could agree upon a consensus candidate, they would have carried out a coup by now. Their entire problem is they cannot agree on an alternative to the Gandhi family. So I don't see this as an issue.
I am
of
saying if you
democracy.
have
The
an
Gandhi
election,
family
you will be
is
able to
dictatorial
vote,
or whatever.
but you don't want to have an election. Sanjay Jha, why don't they want to have an election? Open, free and fair election.
Well, Dr. Raman, I think where he misses the point is, he says he's blaming the cabal or the caucus around, say, Rahul Gandhi. But the truth is, it is a manifestation of a leader's competence to know that he's surrounded by, self-serving, ingratiating crowd of people who have their own personal agenda. It's a comment on the leader, not just on the cabal.
Okay.
And the second point, Rahul, which we cannot ignore, that the Congress party hasn't held internal elections for the last 22 years. I mean, it is indeed a monumental.
What does that tell you, viewers? They're not interested in the process of democracy. This is all a facade. I'll take a short break. When we return, the Karachi blast caught on camera, China hit by Islamist hate. Who is it going to pick? Its own citizens or Pakistan? Don't go away.